I want to be a doctor when I grow up. I want to be a doctor too.
She wants to be a singer. She said, if you let me be a singer, if you don't let me be a singer, then I'll be a doctor.
I want to be a skydiver. First, I'm going to be a teacher for 1 week, and then I'm going to be a sweet shopkeeper. Then I'm going to work as a nurse, then a pop star.
Brighton on the south coast. It has been chosen to pilot the government's Every Child Matters initiative. Its ambition to help every child fulfil their potential and achieve their dreams. David Hawker is the man in charge. His job is to create the type of environment in which the 5 to 10 age group will flourish.
Age 5 to 10, we want to make sure that children get a really good basic schooling. Key Stage 1 through to Key Stage 2, literacy, numeracy, reading, writing, socially inclusive. We need to make sure that children are well integrated, develop friendship groups, that the home circumstances are okay as well.
What's that say?
Mum.
Phil Smith is head of Carlton Hill Primary and Nursery School. It is one of Brighton's flagship schools and is in the Every Child Matters pilot area.
Okay, so as you can see, we are a city centre school, slap bang in the middle of the city, in an area of quite large social deprivation. All of the various housing around here is either council, Guinness Housing Trust or Chichester Diocesan Housing Trust. So around about 75% of our community actually do not own their own housing.
Phil's intake of children have benefited in their early years from the Tana Children's Centre, just down the hill from the school. These new children's centres underpin the whole of the Every Child Matters initiative, multi-agency working all under one roof, and it makes a real difference to the role of the school.
The difference here now to 3 years ago is that we have strong links and stronger relationships with the many different services that roll out of this area, and also with the community that live and breathe within it.
When you get multi-agency working going well, then there's a huge benefit to the child, because you're talking about professionals working together instead of in isolation, providing a coordinated service instead of fragmented services. And ultimately, the outcomes for the child, particularly if they're a child in need, are much, much better.
If your school is doing rather well and is at the centre of a major government initiative, then you're going to attract attention. It is early in the summer term and Ruth Kelly, Secretary of State for Education, arrives at Carlton Hill to have a look.
Well, it's 50 points in maths, isn't it? And it's 30 points in English.
It's amazing.
And 17 points in...
And Margaret, our cook, works wonders in the kitchen. She really does.
But Every Child Matters isn't something that only involves education. It covers every aspect of a child's life.
The 5 outcomes of Every Child Matters are absolutely superb. You can basically get everything into them. Being healthy, staying safe, enjoying and achieving, making a positive contribution, achieving economic well-being. And I say to people that if you've got those 5, you actually don't need anything else, because everything else fits into one of those 5 or more of those 5. It's sort of jewel in the crown, this, because it's a school in an area that has got quite an amount of need. But it's a school with a vision, and the vision is actually about children's all-round development and the development of families, because children don't come as isolated packages; they come in complete sets.
I mean, that's the great idea of trying to link up the Every Child Matters agenda with standards, educational standards, because they're actually two sides of the same coin, aren't they?
Of course they are.
And tackle one by tackling the other.
And we've obviously also networking individual schools with one another, so that the ones who are in the lead can support the ones who are not so far ahead. So it's actually going very well.
Sharing the secrets of his success requires Phil to spread the word to teachers from other schools in Brighton.
this journey for us really started about 2.5 years ago. What we recognise, which obviously you recognise, is that there are all these different service providers providing services but not linking in with each other. This lack of communication between the three major service providers was actually hindering families' progress. So you've got families coming to school, dropping off their kids, who are quickly going from medium risk up to high risk in terms of child protection, who are not getting support from the school because the school doesn't know about what support they're getting from social services, and neither of those two providers know about what services they're getting from the National Health. Because if the family's actually going to get any benefit from it, then they need to be engaged with it.
One of the teachers attending is Sue Strong, a Senko at Hangleton School. She is concerned that to collaborate properly with other agencies means more work.
I really worry as a Senko and a teacher that I just don't have the time, and yet I'm the main person they come to in the school. So I think in our area, in our school, somebody's got to employ somebody to do it.
Her school is 5 miles away from Phil Smith School and outside the pilot area. It's in an area as disadvantaged as Carlton Hill, but like many other schools across the country, it doesn't yet benefit from the resources of Every Child Matters.
Canteen. This is the canteen which we share with the infant school. We share the playground with the youth club.
Many children arrive here ill-prepared for basic schooling. It can set a pattern for underachievement. Sue's main problem is that she gets children all the time that have not benefited from a children's centre and the early intervention that can make all the difference.
Oh, what would we do? Because what happens here is that they have to go down to one centre, then they have to go to another, and then they have to go to another place, and they cannot get to these places easily. And then therefore they don't go to appointments, and then they lose motivation, and if you don't go to the appointments, 2 appointments you lose, then you go off the waiting list. So what I would see a concept of a family centre is for the preschool children, families, where they could go and everybody that would be helping them would be under one roof.
While Susan Strong reflects on her lack of a children's centre, Ruth Kelly has another appointment, just down the hill from Phil Smith School at the Tana Centre, which, due to government funding of the pilot, is now in its brand new building. Ruth Kelly is about to open it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we have a little plaque up there already. What? Speed of play.
So you're doing a big job today. Holding the ribbon. Very important. Yours.
He is mine.
Yeah. Ready, steady, woo! I can't see.
Children fortunate enough to spend their early years at the centre can enjoy the attention of teams of professionals dedicated to their all-round development. But for those children entering primary school without coming through a children's centre, the story can be rather different.
Come in, sit down. This is one of my pupils, Mason. Mason came to us from the infant school, didn't you, Mason?
Yeah.
And he wasn't a very happy boy, were you? What were you like when you first came to Hangleton? Can you remember?
I was really mad,
Really?
strict.
It was strict here, but what happened to you? What did you find difficult?
I found out maths was really difficult. I found out it was easier, and it got easier and easier.
Good. And what else did you do when you first came here? Could you read and write?
No, I couldn't.
No, you couldn't, could you? And you couldn't talk to people very nicely either, could you? If we'd had a family centre, Mason would have had a lot more help with his language problems and his social skill development, because that was really, really poor when he first came to us. He could not last the whole day in the classroom at year 3.
Putting different professional disciplines under one roof can certainly help the child, but it does change the way that the different agencies work with one another.
I just press. Definitely, it's better for clients. Yes, and we have to learn to work in a new way.
So what's the new way?
working together, sharing information, working with clients in an open way, so that we do joint visits together, so that we're giving them a joined up service.
Ever since the beginning of the welfare state, people have tried to put together social services and health and education, and it is really difficult. A family in trouble will interact with so many different agencies and so many different people crossing their front door. Of course it makes sense to get them all to work together out of one office, to try to pull those silos together, to try to pool those budgets and funding streams, and to say, right, who is the lead person here for this family or for this child?
Difficult though it is to make joint agency working happen, it is at the very centre of the Every Child Matters agenda. Helping Phil Smith to encourage other teachers to work with a range of services in their local area is Celia Wilson. She is responsible for information sharing between the different professionals.
We've been looking at multi-agency working, having meetings around families, working in partnership with families, which is something that we've been pushing very strongly locally, and taking forward the idea of involving families in decisions around their care. We've built a training programme which on Monday was agreed by the Chief Officers Group, so that will start now from February, which is based on what practitioners have said that they need additional training on to take forward the Common Assessment Framework and the lead professional role. So that's a training programme and also a support package for practitioners.
So this lack of communication between the three major service providers was actually hindering families' progress. And it's something that I recognised a long, long time ago and just thought was silly, to be quite honest. It was obvious that if we talked to each other more, we could help these families better and their children would succeed better.
Information sharing is critical if early intervention in the lives of children is to be achieved. The Common Assessment Framework, or CAF, is designed to help, but many of the complexities of establishing CAF have to be sorted out.
I'm looking at page 59 of the report where we talk about the Common Assessment Framework support worker is a temporary post during the process when everything goes electronic. But then what happens? Does a support worker just float away and kind of what happens then?
The CAF support worker role is partly simply to fulfil a function that we can't fulfil at the moment without an electronic solution, and that is the practitioner being able to find out whether a CAF's been done, and that's absolutely crucial to the effectiveness of it, because otherwise you get a number of reports on the same child. So it's about there needing to be a person for them to get into contact with. That whole role could be taken on by an electronic system so that you can find out who else is involved and whether a CAF's been done, and then going through the practitioner processes.
One of the big issues around Every Child Matters is how we share information with other professionals. There's a kind of bottom line that if a child is at risk, then you've jolly well got to share the information about that child and their needs. But inevitably there is a whole range of issues about consent, about sensitivity, about confidentiality, which need very careful working through between the agencies and in consultation with the young people and their parents themselves. So information sharing is a very complex issue. There are some very clear principles involved, and we've got to translate those principles into clear protocols and practice.
Phil Smith's passion for working alongside local services at the very heart of the community is what Every Child Matters is all about.
Another community resource, which is the schools, which is our field. And we leave it open at all times when the school's not in session, so that the community can actually use it. Tomorrow we're having this area dug out to make a pond, and we're having 10 fruit trees planted in this area to make a sort of pond and orchard, and then in between the three shelters putting in patios with the sort of bar type tables on, so that the community can use it for picnics. and obviously with a pond and wood piles it will attract wildlife, so that the children can actually see habitats with real wildlife growing in them. But also part of the master plan to actually extend healthy living choices for our community as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there. It seems quite a sort of community school, as in the people generally seem to sort of help each other out because of its size and because of the teaching. I mean, Mr. Smith's got a particularly modern approach to it. He's not one of these people that tells the lively ones to sit down and shut up, which is brilliant, especially with somebody who's quite lively.
Phil Smith's modern thinking doesn't just start and end with his work with the whole child. He is working on the whole family approach as well.
We're a very approachable school, and I was getting families coming in to me saying, I've got this problem, I've got this problem, I've got this problem, and I'm going, oh, I'm sure there's support for you out there, but I don't know where it is.
I was coming up for my third year of university. A friend was going to be looking after Eric because my timetable was after school hours, and she unfortunately had a heart attack, which meant that she couldn't look after him, but it also meant that at very short notice we had to find somewhere. I went to Mr. Smith and just explained to him, just to ask him if there was anything he could do, and he put us straight onto Tarnaland, straight onto the after-school club, which, yeah, worked out really, really well.
And that's what's been so exciting for us in education, is that it's broadened our horizons, it's broadened our vocabulary, a whole way of thinking, if you like, because now we can say, I'm not sure exactly where the support is, but I know somebody who does.
To be honest, I think I'd have ended up missing a lecture every Monday, and obviously if I'd missed a lecture every Monday, the chances are that your work starts to slide because you haven't got the input. So to be honest, it could have quite easily meant leaving the course or not finishing it or taking a year out or just getting a fail mark at the end of it. Then yeah, I think I'd have been really upset if I'd had to leave. I would have personally felt quite that I'd failed, which wouldn't have been good for Eric's confidence because mine would have been knocked. So yeah, I think it has made a difference. It's made me feel like I actually achieved what I came down there for.
So basically we're working at families that we've identified as being at medium risk so that they don't go to high risk and go into a situation where child protection is actually an area that we have to look at. Eric's just having a little bit of time to himself, aren't you, little man?
Yeah.
Yeah? OK. Because it got all a bit too exciting in PE. Would you like to come up and see nursery and reception? We're going to have to give them a little bit. We work very closely with families to try and make sure that their children don't go down the child protection route, but that they get the services and the support that they need before that happens. We feel that successful children come from successful families who work and live and breathe in successful communities. And this has not been one. And so we're trying everything we possibly can to play our role and our part in making that a successful community and successful families with successful children.
You want to be a doctor or not? Because already you've got 2 doctors in the family, so...
One of Phil's pupils is Imad. He benefited from a Sure Start place in the Tana Centre.
When my son was born, when he was about 2 years old, we heard about Sure Start. They came to our house and they introduced and they told us that how they help families with them bilingual, But when my other 2 younger ones started, they had a bilingual assistant with them. So whenever they need translating, they're there to help them.
Agostina has also been given a bilingual teacher.
The school, the first day that I came here, they said me that if I want that Agustina have a Spanish teacher, so she can help with their English language, the teacher speaks Spanish and English, so they try to teach my daughter English.
And this is my diary. I want to show what it does. If you squash this little blue thing there, it can squiggle around. And inside it's got like first little flowers somewhere. Now I better put my things back in before I lose them. Oh, where's my pen gone?
But Carlton Hill's close relationship with the Tana Centre also means that parents, like Agostina's mother Adriana, get help with their English. The Friendly Society run English classes for non-English speakers alongside other basic skills classes.
In Brazil, very good.
What we're hoping to do is we're hoping to encourage more Sure Start parents who... It's quite common with people with basic skills needs to recognise that need when their children start to go to school and they're asked to help their children with language and numeracy, and they recognise that their language and numeracy is not as good as they'd hope. So we were hoping that we would be able to draw in some of the Sure Start parents at that point when their children start at school. So let's say it's early days yet. We've been working together for a few months.
For Adriana, these classes are also an opportunity to make new friends.
The first time I met them, went to this Sure Start Children Club, Mother and Toddler, and they told me about English classes, and I went to the English classes, and a while later Blair came around and I invited her to my place. And then a while later Adriana came around and we invited her, and since then we've been friends. Yes.
The opening of the Tana Centre has been a success. For David Hawker, it is one of the first tangible changes that are taking place in the city.
I'm absolutely thrilled. The design is so good, and it's got to be friendly, people friendly. It's got to feel good and feel quality. I think it's achieved that. It's really, I'm really thrilled with it.
Well, I think it's fantastic, and I think as you go around this children's centre and the Sure Start projects, and you see the impact on the neighbouring school of everybody working together, making sure the facilities are there, that health and education support each other. You can see the huge difference it can make to children's lives and indeed their parents' lives as well. And one of the most exciting things about projects such as this one is how parents can be drawn into learning alongside their children, and it can help them and it can help them help their children as well. So we've got a real chance, a once-in-a-generation chance to break that cycle of deprivation. So I think it's wonderful what's happening here, and I hope that it'll be replicated up and down the country.
But for many, the benefit of a children's centre is still in the future. Susan Strong knows only too well the impact on children's lives if they miss out on the early benefits that a one-stop shop children's centre can offer.
That is what I really get upset about, because we put so much input in. So they come to us, some not everybody, but they've fallen through the net, they need all this input. We give them the input of social skill development and language skills. They're still not up to par of what they should be, because you can only do so much in 4 years. They leave here, and once they get to secondary school, they are in serious trouble.
In the beginning, it was a huge amount more work. I actually feel it was probably taking up about 40% of my time. However, that 40% of time was well invested, because what we've seen now is the school SATs results go up hugely. To the point that we have had Key Stage 2 results that have risen by 53% in maths, that have risen by 30% in English, and that have risen by 17% in science to 95%. They're the highest that Carlton Hill has ever recorded, and I think a lot of that goes down to the work that we've done through extended services and through our work towards Every Child Matters, that has enabled us to work with children's families to motivate their learning further.
But the differences between Carlton Hill and Hangleton are set aside as the pupils take part in a football match between the two schools. Here at least they should be competing on a level playing field. This time Hangleton show what they're capable of.
Every Child Matters is probably the most fundamental change in public policy that we've seen for a generation. The whole of the policy has shifted around from it being driven by lots of policies to being driven by the needs of children and young people themselves. So it's kind of turned everything inside out. And it's based around the 5 outcomes of Every Child Matters: being healthy, staying safe, enjoying and achieving, making a positive contribution, achieving economic well-being.
I think the Every Child Matters 5 goals have been universally accepted as a very good starting point. I mean, they really are the 5 things that all children need to flourish.
Just fantastic commitment and attempts to win. I'm proud of them. Very proud of them.
Obviously, different children in different areas, the emphasis is going to be different as to what's seen to be their particular need. I think if you have those 5, a checklist of 5 things, you look at every child and say, you know, have they got all these things that they deserve, and that the state should be there to make sure that they do get. I think that's a very good framework.
And once we've got that rounded picture of our aspirations for children and young people, actually they came from the children and young people themselves. That's what they wanted for themselves. It's what parents want for them. It's what all of us working with them want for them. That's what Every Child Matters is all about.
I want to play for Liverpool, be the better. Be a football legend, be the all-time top brain surgeon.
I really want to be a doctor just because I've just really wanted to be one. It's because my family's actually really never had a doctor.
Yeah, go to Antarctica and study penguins. He loves penguins. He loves penguins.